When most gardeners think about improving their soil, the first word that comes to mind is compost. And don't get me wrong, compost is incredible. It's nature's recycling system, turning food scraps, leaves, and garden waste into a rich, dark material that feeds plants and builds healthy soil. But here's the truth most people don't realize. Compost alone is no longer enough. Today's soils face greater challenges than ever before. Nutrient depletion, chemical residues, compaction, and the loss of beneficial microbes. If you want truly thriving soil that powers bigger harvests and healthier plants, you've got to go beyond compost. And the good news is, there are smarter natural ways to supercharge your soil without breaking the bank. Let's start with why compost alone isn't cutting it anymore. Decades of industrial farming and urban development have stripped much of the life out of the soil. Even backyard gardens can suffer from poor microbial diversity, too much clay, or nutrient imbalances that compost can't fix by itself. Compost is like a multivitamin. It's good, but sometimes your soil needs a targeted boost, not just a general one. That's where smarter, layered methods come in. Instead of treating compost as the final solution, think of it as the foundation for something greater. One of the smartest additions to compost is, well, biochar. This ancient method, used by the Amazonians over 2,000 years ago, involves heating wood or crop residues in a low-oxygen environment to create a stable, carbon-rich material. When added to your soil along with compost, biochar becomes a microbial hotel. Its tiny pores provide shelter for beneficial bacteria and fungi, helping them survive and thrive. The result? Compost breaks down faster, nutrients stick around longer, and plants benefit from a steady release of fertility. Another way to go beyond compost is by incorporating green manures and cover crops. Instead of leaving your soil bare during the off-season, plant legumes like clover, vetch, or peas. These plants capture nitrogen from the air and store it in their roots, enriching the soil naturally. When you cut them down and leave them to decompose, they act like a slow-release fertilizer, delivering nutrients in sync with the needs of your garden. Combine this with compost, and you have a powerful one-two punch: immediate fertility, plus long-term soil structure improvement. Next, let's talk about the power of vermicomposting. Worms are the secret workers of the soil, and their castings, essentially worm manure, are some of the richest fertilizers on the planet. By running your compost through worms, you transform ordinary organic matter into a microbe-rich superfood for your plants. Worm castings aren't just nutrient-dense. They're also teeming with beneficial microbes and growth hormones that stimulate root development and disease resistance. A handful of worm castings mixed into your soil or potting mix can be worth more than a bucket of compost in terms of plant response. Another overlooked upgrade is creating compost teas and extracts. While solid compost works slowly over time, a liquid tea made by brewing compost in water with a bit of molasses or aeration brings an immediate burst of microbial life directly to your plant's roots or leaves. Think of it as compost in turbo mode. When sprayed onto leaves, these microbes form a protective shield against pests and diseases. When poured into the soil, they quickly colonize the root zone. Regular applications of compost tea can make your garden noticeably more vibrant in just a few weeks. Of course, soil health isn't only about fertility, it's about structure too. That's why adding mulch layers is another smarter approach. While compost feeds the soil, mulch protects it. A layer of straw, leaves, or even shredded cardboard reduces evaporation, keeps soil temperatures stable, and prevents erosion. More importantly, as mulch breaks down, it adds organic matter right at the soil's surface, where earthworms and microbes can access it first. This creates a natural cycle. Mulch breaks down, worms pull it into the soil, microbes feast, and your soil becomes fluffier, darker, and more alive. Don't overlook the role of minerals either. Compost is fantastic for organic matter, but many soils lack key trace minerals like calcium, magnesium, or silica. Simple, natural amendments like crushed eggshells, rock dust, or seaweed meal can bring balance back to your soil. When blended with compost, these minerals ensure that your plants don't just grow. They thrive with strong cell walls, deeper roots, and greater resistance to pests and diseases. So, what does a smarter soil strategy look like in practice? Well, it's really about combining these methods into a layered approach. Start with compost as your foundation, then add biochar to create a long-lasting microbial hub, and, plant cover crops in the off-season to keep the soil alive. The result is a garden that practically takes care of itself. Plants become less dependent on outside inputs because the soil is self-sustaining, teeming with life and constantly cycling nutrients. Pests and diseases struggle to gain a foothold because your soil ecosystem is balanced and resilient. Instead of just feeding your plants, you're feeding the soil, and in turn, the soil feeds the plants. So the next time someone tells you to just add compost, remember, compost is wonderful, but it's only the beginning. If you want the kind of garden that produces bigger harvests, richer flavors, and healthier plants season after season, you've got to think smarter. Compost builds the base, but it's the combination of biochar, worms, cover crops, teas, mulch, and minerals that creates a truly supercharged soil system. In the end, gardening is about working with nature, not just tossing inputs into the ground. And by moving beyond compost into these smarter, layered strategies, you're not only boosting your garden today, you're building a legacy of soil health that can last for generations.